You are a pioneer in the field of education in terms of revolutionizing the curriculum that is going on in this country, specifically related to African information in the curriculum. What was the philosophical premise for you even beginning in that area?
The primary presenting problem in the curriculum in the schools is either neglect, distortion, or falsehood. It's one of those three things with respect to the experience of people of African descent. Not just people of African descent, but people across the board, but it's acute with people of African descent. There are things that help to explain who we are that are never presented in the curriculum. And as a result, when we appear in the curriculum, we appear as fragments, we appear out of context, we appear inaccurately. The strongest statement that I can make is that we have a truth problem or a validity problem. And the reason I say that, the problem is sometimes defined by other people as, let's say, a self-esteem problem. Of course, we want to support kids' self-esteem, but in a way that takes us off the topic, to talk about self-esteem as the only reason for looking at the curriculum makes us ignore the fact that we've had this almost 400 years, but especially the last 200 years, extreme neglect and in some cases acute dishonesty in the curriculum. In fact, it was so acute that I put in the book that we had that the historian Leon Litvak, who was president of the Organization of American Historians, got up in front of his colleagues and said that no group of people, no group of scholars was more deeply implicated in the miseducation of Americans and of African Americans than were historians. And he said that without a challenge at the national meeting. And so this is a serious, serious problem of validity. That's what we're dealing with. Of course, if we have valid curriculum, I would expect that it would contribute to self-esteem mainly because the negative images that are transmitted about African people contribute to a lowering of self-esteem. And so when we provide the truthful images, then it will be clear to our children exactly who they are. Another example of a misinterpretation of the curriculum goal is the argument that the reason for curriculum change, or the reason that we argue for curriculum change, is that it will raise academic achievement. And that's a typically confused kind of thinking because you have two separate topics, really. The topic of whether the curriculum is telling the truth or not is one thing, and so you want the truth told whether academic achievement goes up or down, And so that curriculum problem cannot be responded to by changing the subject to how to get kids' academic achievement up. Now, if you want to get academic achievement up, we know how to do that too. And we also want that. In fact, most of the people that I associate with expect the highest academic achievement of African American students and all students, that there's no reason for any child to fail. But you don't expect taking a class in American history to raise the kids' academic achievement. You teach that for another reason. And so you shouldn't expect a class in African history to raise academic achievement for black students all by itself. If you want achievement raised, then there are certain things that a good teacher knows to do that will cause that to happen.